Peace be upon you, brothers and sisters. This is Saeed Mirza from MillionaireReason.com. And in today's talk, I wanted to touch upon some verses in the Quran that I think are of interest as far as the propaganda that we are being subjected to about the prospects of a nuclear war, about the coming food crisis, the energy crisis, and obviously that disease that started 2 years ago, that it will be making a comeback. Now, obviously, if you believe that these things are real, then you will be afraid, and you will trust the people who are feeding you this propaganda and consider them to be your saviors. But for those who understand that this is all propaganda and these are all lies, those who truly believe in God and believe in the last day, and they take the Quran as their only source of guidance, they will see that the Quran has a lot to talk about these things, about the scheming that is happening. That's not anything new, and about the evildoers, the people at the top, how they manipulate people, their followers into trusting them and denying God. Now, in that regard, I wanted to start out with the verses in chapter 3. This is chapter 3, verses 172 onwards, and this is the translation by Brother Gerrans, the Quran, a complete revelation. Those to whom men said, "The people have gathered against you, so be afraid of them." But it increased them in faith, and they said, "Sufficient for us is God, and excellent is the disposer of affairs." So they returned with favor and bounty from God, evil not touching them. And they sought the approval of God, and God is possessor of tremendous bounty. That is but the Satan putting his allies in dread of it, but fear them not, and fear me, if you be believers. Now, obviously, here the context is of war, but we can extrapolate from this set of verses that in this day and age, we don't need to fear men. We don't need to fear the machinations of the system. And you don't need to fear that if you follow the truth, if you follow God's guidance, you don't need to fear men. Even if they gather against you, God is our ally. God is our protector. And if we do that, then we return with favor and bounty from God, and evil does not touch us. And this is the tactic of the Satan. He puts his allies, the people who trust in him, who believe in him, he puts fear in them. He puts fear in them of whatever he can muster about of the system. He puts fear in them of the system, and the people who follow Satan, his allies, they are in dread of this eventuality or that eventuality if they don't follow the rules of the system. But the believers, they put their trust in God, and they do what is right, and they follow God's guidance, and they cling to the truth. So this is why they are successful. Now, another sort of common misconception is that the people at the top, the elite class, the billionaires and the presidents and the kings, the potentates, the priests, the ulemas, they are working for the benefit of mankind, and that they are the leaders of mankind. They're leading us to a golden age, if you will. But with your own eyes, you can see that we are going towards destruction. The family unit has been destroyed. The religions have been destroyed. The moralities has been destroyed. Everything that is decent and good has been destroyed, and it is we are on the path of enslavement. If you understand that, if you see that, you will see that the Quran talks about these things, that this is what happens, that the evildoers, the people at the top, they are its greatest lawbreakers. This is chapter 6, verse 123. And thus have we appointed in every city its greatest lawbreakers, that they should scheme therein. And they scheme only against themselves, and they perceive not. So what is this scheming that these evildoers are doing? It's greatest lawbreakers that they are doing. What is the scheming that the billionaires and the presidents are doing? And the directors of intelligence agencies are obviously included in this. I think this quote would be of interest to you. This was shown to me by Brother Gerrans, and it's very apt. This is a quote by William Casey. He was the CIA director in 1981, and he said, We will know our disinformation program is complete when everything the American public believes is false. Now, what is he talking about here? Now, if you know, there was an operation called the Operation Mockingbird, which I'm just pulling up Wikipedia here. It says Operation Mockingbird is an alleged large scale program of the US CIA that began in the earlier years of the Cold War and attempted to manipulate domestic American news media organizations for propaganda purposes. So this is the program that was initiated, and it's still ongoing. But rest assured that the news media and everything has been completely compromised, and whatever you get from the news or from the media is complete disinformation. It's false. It doesn't make any difference which country you are in. You are still being subjugated to the same falseness, lies, deceit, and propaganda. And in that regard, really, the goal of propaganda, the goal of the scheming, is for you for you to deny God. This is the crux of the propaganda: is to deny God and is to trust in the satanic system and to trust into these evildoers and believe in them. And this is really what is going on. And in that regard, I wanted to look at another set of verses in the Quran that talks about what will happen on the day of judgment, as far as the people who followed this disinformation, who followed the propaganda, who believed in it, the followers, and the people who produced this propaganda, the elites, the leaders, and they will have an argument on the day of judgment. This is recorded in the Quran. This is chapter 34, verse 31. And those who ignore warning say, We will never believe in this Qur'an, nor in what was before it. But if thou couldst see when the wrongdoers are brought before their Lord, refuting each other's word, those who were despised will say to those who had waxed proud, Were it not for you, we would have been believers. Those who had waxed proud will say to those who were despised, Did we turn you away from the guidance after it had come to you? Nay, you were lawbreakers. And those who were despised will say to those who had waxed proud, Nay, it was your scheme night and day, when you commanded us to deny God and make equals to him. And they will whisper remorse when they see the punishment, and we place yokes on the necks of those who ignore warning. Will they be rewarded save for what they did? So this is chapter 34, verses 31 to 33. So you see here that the people, the followers, the masses of men, they will argue with the leaders, the elites, and that, it was you who, through your propaganda, made us disbelieve in God. And they will counter saying, we didn't do that. But actually, they were doing it by their constant propaganda, day and night. That make equals to God, as in take the state as your God, take the state as your ally and protector, and do your part. And this is the only way. This is the only way. It's not. It's a lie. It's falsehood. What really they're trying to do is to force humanity into this very disgusting system, basically a prison camp. Where everything you do will be tracked and monitored, and the food you will eat will be garbage and designed to weaken your body, your immune system, from which they can obviously sell you stuff to, which they claim to will help you, but in the long run will destroy you. And at the same time, you will be subjugated to constant propaganda, and your family values, your family system, everything will be destroyed. Your morality will be nothing, and that there will be food crisis and energy crisis to impel you forwards into this brave new world. This is where this is going, and we're pretty much at the end of the agenda. So don't let this, this war and all this other stuff fool you. All of it is all of it is part of a plan, and the people at the top, they are only They only care about themselves, and they only care about amassing resources and wealth. They don't care about you or me. They don't care about the benefit of humanity. So those times are past gone. Obviously, we have in the Quran righteous men such as Solomon and David, who were kings who cared for their population, but that's all been done with. What we have here are just evil men, evil doers. And in that regard, obviously, um, we have the climate change and the other things that obviously are pushed forward, as in the Earth is you know revolving around a sun, a stationary sun, and all that, which from day one you've been propagandized with. This is all falsehood. The Quran talks about the sun and the moon traveling, and the earth is a fixed ground. And if you want more information on that, I suggest you go look at my work, Cosmology of the Quran, in which I have looked in the Quran for proofs that this is to be the case. But what I'm trying to say is that your whole worldview from day one has been shaped by falsehood and by lies and deception, because ultimately the goal has always been for you to deny God, the majesty of God, and to deny your own specialness, and that you have a calling, that you have a station that you are to reach. This has all been completely destroyed by this falsehood, by this propaganda, and this scheming. This scheming is talked about in the Quran. It says in chapter 14, verse 46, it says, "And they have schemed their scheme, but their scheme is with God. And though their scheme be that the mountains should vanish, think thou not that God will fail in his promise to his messengers. God is exalted in might and vengeful. The day the earth will be changed to another earth, and the heavens, they will emerge before God, the one, the vanquishing. And thou wilt see the lawbreakers that day bound together in shackles, their garments of pitch and the fire covering their faces, that God might reward each soul for what it earned. God is swift in reckoning. This is a notification to mankind, that they be warned thereby, and that they might know that he is but one God, and that those of insight might take heed." This is the end of the chapter, chapter 14, verse 52. So even if their scheme is that the mountain should vanish, that everything around you is false, and they have created this whole worldview, this is a false worldview. Even if that's their scheme, understand that this scheme is only in this life. It's temporary, and that God will destroy everything and he will recreate everything. And then on the day of judgment, their scheming will be nothing. Will be eradicated. So that time is coming. So let the evildoers what they will. Our purpose in this life is to purify ourselves, believe in God, trust in Him, and to stand up against this tyrannical system, and to do what is right, to say what is right. This is what the believers are being called to. And finally, I wanted to look at chapter 17, verse 16. And if you know anything about the Gerrans' work, you know that the God protocol has been executed. And what the God protocol is, that it is warning, it is notification to the elites to basically repent and turn back to God, and to implement reforms and not implement corruption. And that was done already, and they disregarded it. And in that regard, we can see why that we are living in the end times, because it says in chapter 17, verse 16, "And when we intend to destroy a city, we command its opulent ones, but they are perfidious therein. So the word becomes binding upon it, and we annihilate it utterly." So the word has become binding upon the evildoers, because they have disregarded the command of God. And so the final step is that they will be annihilated utterly. So this is what we are preparing for. We are preparing for the end. And don't let the fear, the news cycle, the 24-hour news cycle, propaganda cycle fool you. And don't let these people fool you by calling you towards patriotism and defending what is right and just. These men are evildoers, and they are the unjust, and they are the evildoers, and that they don't stand upon anything. We have the book of God, we have the scripture of God, and we stand upon something. So for us to be fearful of their machinations about of their scheme does not behoove us. We are the believers, and we need to put our trust in God and believe in Him and do righteous deeds and to follow what God has commanded us to do. And if we do that, then we are the successful, and God will help us. So the end is definitely near. I suggest that you turn off the TV and ignore the people who are brainwashed and who are constantly, crying about this or being fearful of that, and put your trust in God and to do what is right and just, and work on yourself and purifying yourself, so that on the day of judgment we can stand before our God and be given the rewards for living a righteous life and for fearing God and God alone. God willing, until next time, peace and blessings be upon you.